Go to sleep, motherfuckers. Well, maybe not, considering the age range of most of the people I talk to. It's not quite bedtime for most of you. Some of you, if you're in that golden age range, you won't go to sleep for another 3 to 5 hours. And what I mean by that is people that are either in the Eastern or Central time zone of the United States, you won't go to bed for another 3 to 5 hours. What's going on, Corey? How you doing, man? Yeah, I just woke up from like a 3 to 4 hour nap. Was it 3 to 4 hours? It felt like it. It's only 10:30 and yeah, only like 2 hours. It felt like 4 hours. Weird. My brain chemistry's wreaking havoc with me. And it's getting old. Right on, dude. You got in on that like 12-hour stream that that Bob did earlier today, right? I thought I remember seeing you there this morning. Yeah, I left and went and took a nap late this morning too. Cause nice. Yeah, that was a hell of a marathon stream Bob did. Felt I was watching the Jerry Lewis telethon or something at certain points. Waiting for one of the people on the panel to remind us to call in and save the children. Yeah, I never did get a grasp on what was going on or why with that stream. Or if it was just raw spontaneity with nothing better to do. Because, like, I know early this morning, someone, I think it was Dax, said something about cops. So, I have no idea what was going on there. Really? Called in a welfare check? That's some shit. I don't know, maybe I have some ESP about shit like that, because this morning when someone's, after Dak told me cops were there, but no one knew why, for one reason or another, I started thinking about how law enforcement, how I've experienced it anyway, how they have have a very intimate relationship with your own that the law enforcement have access to and a close relationship with your health care and health history, especially if you've been diagnosed with some kind of mental disorder, like one of our friends and his PTSD. But I get, like, when my grandparents, who were born like 5 years before World War I, if something happened to them and no one was around, that was one thing. That was when you had, like, the life alert, right? Life alert button. I've fallen and I can't get up. I get that. That's one thing. But when you're calling a welfare check on men in their 40s based on gynocentric motivations, trying to think of a good example of what I mean. But when the law has the right to act on your behalf with seemed it was heard by someone, there was a knock, talking, and then nothing for a few hours. I don't know, like I said, I've had personal experience with these things, so I have a different and maybe more fretful opinion of them. Hey Bob, how is everything, man? I checked in on your stream twice. That was a hell of a marathon stream, man. Good to see you're still with us, dude. That's something I wanted to mention, though, since I saw the physical therapist today. So I got up behind my walker. One of those ones with the 4 wheels and the handlebars. And for 10 years now, I've had 3 discs out in my lower back. That's why I started using the walker. I couldn't stand up straight. So I lean forward with my elbows on the handles and walk that way. I've been doing that for a decade. Okay? That has nothing to do with my legs. So the physical therapist says, let's get up and do some walking with your walker. I say, hey, that sounds great. That's why I'm here, to be able to do that well enough to get out of here. So I start walking, but I'm a little weak in the knees still. right? Because that's where my weakness is. And I don't go far, and she grabs the back of my gown. And at first, because I thought it felt, like it was a little too open, I thanked her. Now, she could have just said, no problem, and we could have moved on, but she elaborated on why she grabbed my gown. She went on to tell me that she grabbed it because she didn't feel safe with the way I was leaned over the walker. So I explained to her I've been doing it that way for 10 years. It's because of my back, it has nothing to do with my legs, da-da-da-da-da-da. Well, I don't feel safe with you doing it that way. Well, it's not for you to feel safe. And prior to that, I was doing the stationary bike from the side of the bed. And she was getting cranky with me about the posture of my body, right? And admittedly, anyone looking in on me would think, what the hell's going on there? Did the car fuck him up worse than we know? No, absolutely nothing to do with that. So I had to explain that to her. Because she's screaming at me about how I have to alter my posture when riding the bike, or da-da-da-da-da. Because I don't look like I'm riding it like a normal person. Or at least seated like a normal person. So I had to explain to her that, one, it's a stationary bike, and I'm on the side of a bed that's extraordinarily flimsy. 2, from the time I was 5 years old, my hips have been uneven because of deterioration that has continued on through to now. Because of that, my pelvis has always been uneven, which means my entire spinal column developed on an uneven pitch. When I was at my absolute best health, people screamed at me for looking like a Quasimodo cripple when I'd golf, and it's like, that's not the proper posture to approach the ball and swing the club. And I go, well, you don't have a completely off-kilter skeleton inside you either. And I always hit the ball straighter and cleaner than everybody else who was healthier than me. But I was hard to look at when I addressed the ball and swung. But it worked because the alignment of my entire skeleton is out of whack. So bad now with my hips that it looks like one leg is like over a half inch shorter than the other one. And so it gets tiresome working with the women. The one male physical therapist, he's never mentioned any of that shit. All he'll say is, are you okay like that? I go, yeah, and then I kindly explain to him much more briefly. He's like, oh, alright, I get it. But the women seem hell-bent because of their primal gynocentric inclinations to just nitpick every little thing about me that isn't just right. It's like, that's not your job. I came in here with a specific injury to be rehabbed from. You're not going to fix my back. You're not going to fix my hips. Your job is to get me sturdy on my legs again. That's it. Well, I know, but I don't feel safe with this, that, and the other. That's well, unfortunately, that is your most primal animal instinct. It's not that you don't feel safe. as far as like my well-being. It's that your primal monkey instinct is afraid that in this case, if you let me leave this facility being that physically infirm and allow me back out into the public, I might breed and breed more infirm monkeys. Trust me, I've dealt with this my whole life. Even my own mother sabotaging shit left and right because she couldn't bear the shame of her infirm male offspring breeding with the lady monkeys, and then my mother being blamed for letting that happen. It's all very profoundly deep in the psyche and the instincts, and they don't even realize why they're doing it. Do they mean well? No. It's something we've been taught to tell ourselves to cope with the fact that some people are just shit. Especially women. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of shitty dudes too. Why and how, that's from your own personal perspective. I'm probably a shitty guy to some people. Been having dreams that with the sense of death in them, but it's not total death. It's the bad kind of death. I've been dead before. Being dead is excellent. Being outside this body, fantastic. I can't wait to get back there. What up, Outlaw? How you doing, man? How was your day? Hope you had a pleasant Sabbath. But yeah, I don't fear the end. I fear my body becoming an ever-increasing prison, and subsequently my life. And that's the thing, maybe I say this out of abject naivete, but on some level, I would rather be in the bad kind of prison because I'd feel I earned it. Like, I did my job. I got myself here. I can accept it and move on. But a place like this or a nursing home where they they string you along, and it just, like I said, it's like the Nazi, again, I wasn't there, so I don't know, but the parts of the Nazi prison camps that Mengele oversaw, where they isolate people and torture them and steal their humanity for the sake of science. I don't know, my brain chemistry is just so fucked up right now. And part of it is maybe the the stubbornness of not wanting to let go of what I had. Or what I thought I had. And maybe that's the thing too. Because I was considering that as I was getting on the internet here and waking up. Is that prior to the accident, for years, my life had no more value than it does now. But for some reason, it was easier to hold on to hope. It was easier to tell myself that my life wasn't a total waste, or that if it was okay. So I don't know, maybe contrasting that with now. I don't get to physically engage with friends anymore, like actual physical vicinity, where we exchange auric energy and human frequencies. I don't get out in the sun near as much. And I'm not up going from place to place, being on the bus, hanging out with my animals as well, or just keeping a schedule of going places and doing things where I suppose it almost created a sense of value, like, because I held a routine, and that routine made me feel like I was being productive. That I didn't feel as worthless and trapped. But again, like I said, more sun, more human interaction. More interaction with sentient creatures that I care about and care about me. And maybe just the total lack of fresh air and sun is fucking with my brain chemistry too. And I failed to keep a promise to myself. I always swore I'd leave before I got this bad. I always swore I'd get out of this body before it got this bad. Because maybe this is a little pessimistic, but around about 40 is where I passed that threshold where it wasn't a hopeful mindset of every year I'm closer to attaining to something. It was going forward. Every year was a year closer to being too infirm to survive on my own. There you go, Corey. Good idea. The thing, too, is Between us and the main road is a gas station. And in front of the gas station is a bus stop. Oh, I'm sorry, Corey. And that's the thing. If these people gave me the freedom to leave in the morning and come back before, by the time visiting hours were up. Like, I think visiting hours are until like 10 p.m. So if I left when I woke up in the morning, right? Went outside, got some sun, caught the bus, went about my usual routine. And got back here by 9:30 every night. I'd have less of a problem being here. But there's all these legal aspects of when I leave the building, somehow I'm still a liability to them if anything happens to me. And just weird shit like that because, again, because of the boomers. Now hear me out. The perverse bedfellows of law and medicine exist the way they do now because the greedy, short-sighted boomers were the generation that all went to school for either being lawyers or doctors. What this did was created a massive glut of those trades, doctors and lawyers. So they had to start creating reasons to be employed in those fields. So the doctors became bureaucrats, and the lawyers became ambulance chasers. So now, as convoluted as it is, because I am technically a ward of this facility, if when I leave the facility, I sneeze and someone claims I got COVID when they got COVID when I sneezed on them and they want to sue, the lawyer will come after this facility because I was under their care. Like, no, dude, I was out in public, and no, they can't get COVID from me sneezed on them because I didn't have it in the first place. It just... So, back to my original point, thank the perverse bedfellows that law and medicine have become because the boomers needed work after too many of them becoming lawyers and doctors 70 years ago. Well, maybe not 70 years ago, but, you know. So, thanks, Mom and Dad's generation. But of course, they rationalize their decision-making, right? I was only trying to help. Well, you're not wrong. You were only trying to help. Now finish that sentence. You were only trying to help yourself. Not the people around you. You had no concern for the long-term effects of your choices. It's kind of like that Bill Cosby skit, right? Where the 4-year-old climbs up onto the counter and gets the cookies out of the cupboard and catches her and he's like, "Why do you have a cookie?" "I don't know." "Didn't I tell you not to have a cookie?" "Yes." "Then why do you have a cookie?" "I was getting it For you. Close, you were getting the cookie, but it wasn't for me, it was for you. Yeah, most places down here, medical facilities still require you to wear masks. All right. Thank you. I'll be right back.
Huh?
It is on. It's freezing me out already.
This one? 1672.
All right, I have returned. The nurse showed up with the nightly brain melting regimen. They tell me it's pain medication, though. I wonder. And maybe I've seen too many movies. Perhaps. Or maybe it's a creative way to not feel so shitty about the situation. Let's see. Let's get caught up here. Corey says, masks still required for healthcare workers in Kingston. Staff entrance, mask mandatory on the door. Don't know about the patients. Bob says, I still see people wearing masks while driving by themselves. Corey, LOL, see if he smokes. Corey, same here, Bob, even walking alone on the streets, in reference to people driving by themselves wearing masks. Corey says, I walk around runny nose, don't get a second glance, or I don't notice them. I get the runny nose every year. Yeah, that happens. Reminds me of that dad joke my father always used to say in the winter. Our bodies are built upside down. Our nose runs and our feet smell. But yeah, down here this time of year, so many people complain about allergies, right? And I guess I stopped listening anymore. I know they do it, I just don't hear them do it. Because I heard it for so many years, but the reason these people have allergies, the ones that complain about it, is they work in office or medical buildings all day, every day. And so they're breathing in a lot of harsh chemicals, broken down carpet fibers, a lot of dust, all these unnatural chemicals with no free-flowing air. And then, all that shit gets in the ventilation ducts and it just blows back out on them. So they're breathing in all these artificial chemicals and fibers all day. And that weakens their immune system. It wears them down. Makes them tired, makes them irritable. Well, then when they get out into the fresh air, that fresh, much cleaner air, particles per million, that is. Because when all the air is trapped inside that building, inside that office, the parts per million just go higher and higher and higher and higher. So you just breathe in more and more and more of it, a denser and denser quantity of it. Outdoors, you have an inconceivably finite parts per million because the air is always moving. And so, when you get outside, you breathe in that fresher air, and it gets into your system, and your cells really like that fresh air. So your cells perk up and start kicking back all that toxic shit you've been breathing in all day at work. So your nose and eyes start watering, right? You start sneezing, right? Because your body's trying to get rid of all that shit. So all allergy medicine does is weaken your immune system. Look at the most of the allergy drugs. They're immunosuppressants. They do this because people would rather have weakened immune systems than allow their immune systems to kick back the toxins and get them out of their body. And let's see, let's go back up here. Bob says for the most part there's still people who wear masks, but the majority don't anymore. Corey says, I thought about that when I was younger. Why when it's freezing does the snot melt, but in the summer it seems to freeze solid? HEPA filters creating boys in bubbles for years. Definitely. Climbing trees, playing in a big dirt pile excavated for the garage in the backyard. Exactly. Oh, dude, where I grew up when I was little, little podunk town in South Dakota, that was freaking awesome, dude. Because on the south side of our property was railroad property, so the railroad tracks were going through. And then the other side was a lot owned by the railroad, and they had a couple 8-foot high piles of dirt / gravel. We'd go over there and play on those things all the goddamn time. And the post office was the lot northeast adjacent to us. So we'd go play in their parking lot all the time too. It was just a big playground for us. And that was when we didn't feel like riding our bikes to the actual playground in town and running around there. And in the, where was it? Right, yeah, in the post office parking lot, because it was gravel, there was like a 6-inch deep by 8-foot in diameter hole, right? And that would fill up with rainwater every time it rained. So we'd fucking put on our swim trunks and sit in that puddle and play with our G.I. Joes for hours. Lost a lot of G.I. Joes in that puddle. Never hurt us. You know, hell, when we were toddlers, we could be found eating dirt whether it was out of the garden or out of the plants or out of the potted plants in the house. Like, I mean, Corey says when he was about 5, he got covered in fire ants. Yes, dude, something like that definitely builds character. We didn't have paintball back then when I was coming up. We had pellet guns and BB guns, so depending on your age was which one you got. And we'd run around those various places I already mentioned and do like real live G.I. Joe versus Cobra skits. What up, Super Ken? How you doing, dude? Everything? You maintaining course pretty well? Nice. Glad to hear it. Yeah. And that, my friends, was my gaping maw. Of course, then it got more fun when we figured out stuff like how to build a potato gun, then how to modify it to shoot fresh eggs. So you didn't have to egg a house manually. You could just load up the cannon and fire them. Or every year with fireworks. Like when we figured out how to light and throw firecrackers like grenades. Or when we learned to fire bottle rockets from our hands, where you just hold the tip of it, point it, and then when we got really brave and would just hold a Roman candle in our hand and point it and shoot it at each other. One of the more mischievous things we did, though, because it gets so hot up there in July, that the roadside ditch was like 4 to 6 foot deep along the road just outside town. So when we were, like 14, we'd spend our allowance on a big bag of smoke bombs, as boring as smoke bombs were. And we'd go hang out in that ditch and watch for cars driving by with their windows down. And we'd light up those smoke bombs and launch them if we could into the back window of the cars as they were driving by. And that was fucking fantastic. If you could land it, the whole interior of their car would smoke the fuck up. It was great if it was someone you knew, like one of your older brother's friends. Because then, you could get feedback within a couple days of, somebody threw a smoke bomb in the back of my car. Like, shut up, dude. Don't let him know we did it. Indeed, Corey, yes. Snowballs with a surprise inside. Yep. There you go. Nice. Yeah, I was born in 81. You're about as old as my brother. He was born in 76. So, yeah. Oh, that reminds me too. Do you remember the little tiny military men you could buy that had the parachute attached? Well, we'd throw them from the top of the staircase. Nothing. Throw them out the second story window. Nothing. Right, they just never seemed to work. Well, about probably 11 years old, I was introduced to model rockets, right? And so, I bought one big enough to fit those 3 3/4-inch G.I. Joes in, and I would always load one of those into the rocket with a parachute, and that actually worked out pretty cool. It was fun watching a standard 3 3/4-inch G.I. Joe gracefully float hook down from like 1,000 feet in the air. The problem was, wherever you shot it down, it drifted quite a distance sometimes, so it was kind of fun setting it up. It was fun setting it up because of the anticipation of how it was going to turn out. And most of the time it was fun watching how it turned out. Until you realized you were going to have to go retrieve the shit on foot. Then it was like, oh, god damn it. But that was pretty cool for a while. Now see, every time I go to Toys R Us, I'd see the like remote control helicopters and planes, and always thought that would be cool to have because I couldn't fathom how exactly that would work in that scale, but it always seemed like a really neat idea. I remember thinking how cool it was the first time I got a remote control vehicle that didn't have the remote attached to the vehicle, right? Because like for the longest time, like my first 3 remote control vehicles had like a 6-foot cord attaching it to the remote, so if you didn't walk behind it, you really couldn't use it. now you have all these drone channels on YouTube where like guys are flying and filming camera footage from, like 5,000 feet up or less and like a few miles from their home and doing a lot of the work just on their smartphone. Bob says, and I quote, "I bought 100 mortar tubes for my fireworks show this year. Gonna be an epic video for the 4th. Well, it sounds like it, dude. It sounds like that's gonna be a hell of a pyrotechnics event. And Corey says, Star Wars, Jawa Land Crawler. One way, and the reverse turned it only one way. Yep. Do what you gotta do, Corey. Oh, Bob, that's really cool. You've been doing that. You've been filming your fireworks event for a few years now, huh? Well, you must be getting pretty good at handling all the schematics and execution of it. Do you have any of the past years' stuff recorded that you can share with us? Awesome, would love to see it. Oh, I will, Corey. Thank you. I will go look that up when I depart from this live stream. On second thought, that phrasing sounds kind of weird. Depart from this live stream. I will go look at Bob's video. After this live stream is over. There. I almost said has been terminated. Goddamn Freudian slips. Thanks for the link, Bob. I'll check it out. So I suppose this next thought could be seen as something positive from a certain point of view, as Obi-Wan Kenobi would say. But I keep waking up just when my dreams start to make a clear turn towards something positive or some kind of resolve. Well, no matter how dangerous the event is or how long or short the videos are, it seems like it's a lot of fun, whether you're watching or executing the event. So do you like sell tickets and have the neighbors come sit in lawn chairs with their lemonade and their beer and watch you put this event on? I know where we live, the river was right nearby. Like, our actual house was like a half mile from the river. So the fire department would take boats out on the river and fire off the mortars from there every year. There you go, Corey. Free show for the neighbors. Just like my mom after a few beers. Oh. Well, okay, it wasn't after a few beers. She did that shit sober, too. Especially when my friends were over. Yeah, but we won't talk about that. The weird kid with the crazy mom. That's awesome, Bob. That's so cool. A nice family and friends get together and they try to help you out when they can. That's really awesome. Yeah, I haven't. You know what? I take that back. The closest thing I came to seeing or patroning a July 4th fireworks event is, I think the last time was 2014, where in the middle of, about 3 miles from here in Tampa, is a Target Supercenter, and they've got a bunch of other stores attached. So there's a 3-story, 4-story if you count ground level, parking garage, right? And I would go to the top level of the parking garage, and from there, because it was higher than the shopping center, you could see in a 360-degree rotation about 12 to 15 fireworks events going on all at the same time. Well, it was after dark, so figure out how late that is on July 4th. Then the years I was doing that, I guess word got around because when I first started doing it, I was the only person up there watching fireworks. The last time I was there was like 20, 25 cars that had parked and set out lawn chairs and coolers, and it was mom and dad with the kids, every one of the cars, and they'd all go up there and sit and watch the fireworks together, so, why not? Yeah. Now, I'm tempted to crack open another Java Monster because they are my addiction. I ain't even gonna lie. But I don't know that I want to keep myself awake all night either. Though I'll probably be awake anyway, so why not? Don't know. Oh well, glad it's not a serious and potentially harmful decision like, hey, which fire extinguisher am I supposed to use to put out this fire? Oops, wrong one. Alright. Let's get caught up here. Corey says he had a pretty Rockwell upbringing until he was 10. Bob says his brother-in-law bought a remote firing system. Well, that'll make it a little safer, I would think. Good idea. Don't want to lose any parts that you planned on keeping. Let's see, Corey says he doesn't like loud noises, but likes the pretty lights. And continues on saying, the city has fireworks every year, but too many people near the waterfront. And that is why he hasn't seen a fireworks show in many years. Sorry, the resident screamer across the hall is making a bunch of noise. I tried to get footage of it one night, but the lighting wasn't right, and everything else, it didn't turn out well. Because he was just crawling down the hallway with no legs, moaning. Looked like something out of a zombie movie. And I think, at 2 in the morning, Frasier comes on the Hallmark channel till 5. Then Cheers comes on. If I turn to the Hallmark channel before 2 a.m., it'll be the Golden Girls. How do I know this, you ask? Think about it. Yeah, I've done it enough times since I've been in the hospital. I know. It's better than all the reality TV shit. And it, harkens back to a long time ago when things weren't so much like they are. Oh wow, man. Was the ticker spazzing out? Ticker said, no, no more, leave me alone. It's like, when new dialysis staff take care of me and they see my blood pressure because they take it before, during, and after treatment. It's like every half hour. And I have to tell them every time, you know, whatever medical place I'm at where they're like, they take my blood pressure. And a healthy blood pressure is right like 125/65, right? And it's like, mine's like 188/110. And they kind of look at it and they don't say a word, and they start taking it immediately again. And I have to tell them, my blood pressure is that high. That's my walking around blood pressure. It has been for 15 years. Taking my blood pressure 15 times in a row isn't going to change it drastically enough to matter. Oh Jesus, that's some shit, Corey. Welcome to socialized medicine. So you create socialized medicine to make sure the glut of doctors all have business and guaranteed income. Then you create a self-indulgent, codependent civilization to make sure people are constantly going to the doctor so that those doctors have business, so that they always have income. And now you have doctors who, once they left the medical field, went into the bureaucracy side of it and created multiple layers of bureaucracy to slow the flow of patients because all the doctors are so overburdened now. But that's what you asked for. You needed a glut of patients to satisfy the glut of physicians. This is what you wanted. You wanted guaranteed work and guaranteed pay. But now that you have it, you hate it. And yeah, the whole Medicare, Medicaid, all the government medical systems or medical insurance are not the best either. And even without those, even people who don't have those insurances are still put through the bureaucracy mess of, can you be seen? When can you be seen? Do we have room for you right now? Da 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 da. Again, because when you can't find a primary doctor because they're all full, so you just go directly to the emergency room. That's why down here in Florida they have so many of the standalone urgent care centers, like right in the middle of, otherwise normal parts of town, right? You got the Walmart, the McDonald's, the grocery store, the auto service place, the FedEx office, all the normal shit, and then somewhere nestled in there is a urgent care center. Because there's so much overflow from the emergency rooms. They're so backed up that there has become a business down here for urgent care centers. Well, I'm glad they took care of that expediently, Corey. It's too bad the aftercare wasn't the best. Yeah, I think the last time I even went to a doctor prior to this, is, yeah, about a decade ago as well. And I've had, like, especially other dialysis patients just, like, get all spun out when they're like, you don't go to the doctor all the time? I'm like, no, why? Yeah, I can see how you would consider that, Corey. On the other hand, and I mean no disrespect here, just that based on my life experience, um, no matter how much compensation you get in a malpractice suit, it will never give you back what you once had. It's, and it might make you feel like there was some kind of balancing of the fates, but at the same time, is it worth permanently losing something so dear as a part of your body or part of the function of your body? And I mean, that's up to you, you know? What's it worth to you? To me, I'd personally rather the whole ambulance chaser malpractice shit never started in the first place. Because again, you create a society or a segment of society big enough to be a problem where they become addicted to their own infirmity. Where going out of their way to destroy their health and getting a fat paycheck is more important to them than having their health. That bad, huh, Corey? Slinging them groceries wears you the fuck out, huh? Young man, when I was your age. Oh. Yeah, we're all pretty fucked up, aren't we? How's that go? We all have our cross to bear? Oh wow, didn't realize I've been going on for more than an hour now. Cool. Oh jeez. I need to get my eyebrows and my beard professionally groomed. Starting to look sloppy, like I got some hangers over here, but not on that side as much, and getting to where I flat out need to shave again. And yeah, like I said, if I ever came into the money, I'd get electrolysis to remove. All the hair from here up, except the eyebrows and this. So I get fucking tired of shaving this shit off all the time. It doesn't take a hint. I don't want you here anymore. I had an acquaintance for a while that he took a lot of pride in his appearance. He was a pretty boy. And he'd give me shit about how I looked. Haha, Corey. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, getting all of that hair lasered off. I've heard of that happening before. I think the first time I heard about that was in my teen years. Someone we knew had a heart valve operated on, and yeah, the artificial valve, you can actually hear it ticking. That's a trip. I suppose if I wanted to, I could just go online, look up the wattage used on a hair removal laser, go buy a laser pen that has a variable wattage output that goes to that wattage, and do it myself over time. There you go. Yeah, why not? Of course, that requires ambition and energy, which is also interesting to consider. I have less and less energy the longer I'm in the medical facilities. Meaning, since I've been in the hospital over there, I was there a month and then came over here. Since I've been in the hospital, I've lost my the energy, the get up and go, the strength, all of it, more and more every day. Yet somehow, living outside, being homeless, and going about my routine every day, I wasn't a ball of fire. But compared to what I am now, I was a fucking dynamo. And yet, by all standards, I didn't get as much sleep. I didn't eat as healthy. Yet somehow I kept my blood levels in check as well. Since I've been in the hospital, my blood count's gone down and my anemia's gotten worse and weird. I don't know. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. And people say being on disability isn't a job. Motherfucker, I can't work. Most days I have no fucking energy in my body. And the days I do, I'm just using it to catch up on my health. What's this? You thought of getting your cheeks lasered since you can't grow mutton chops like you wanted to? I understand that. Dude, my fucking face comes in kind of like... Well, it's weird. I'm not... Because the hair on my face isn't as thick as I would prefer, before it gets a certain length, it looks kind of like mange. Because, like, a lot of it you can barely see, if at all. It has to get to a certain length before it's entirely visible. I hear you, Corey. Yep, that's pretty much what I'm talking about. Which reminds me, what do you call a dog with mange? Patches. Ha ha. There you go. My testosterone is not concentrated in my face. Yeah, I lost one of those to a hernia. And so I make the joke that that's what threw my back out. Getting pulled to one side all the time by having only one nut. Walking, leaning to one side because you got the one testicle on the one side pulling you in that direction. Yeah, sounds about right. Oh shit, a tumor. It might be a tumor. It's not a tumor. Yes, it is, Arnold. Thank you. I've always enjoyed those movie references. My favorite line from that same scene is the one where Schwarzenegger says, "Who is your daddy and what does he do?" Taken out of context, that is a fantastic line. Right? Yeah, that was Arnie's post-action hero phase, where he was doing more of the comedy, right? Where you go from being the Terminator to being a cop assigned to be a kindergarten teacher, or you go from being the Terminator to being Danny DeVito's twin brother in a buddy comedy. Speaking of bad movies, last Thursday they were running the Expendables movies on FX, so that was fun. Those are handy flicks. They don't take themselves too seriously. They got a lot of that classic 80s action and action heroes, obviously, and they like nod to the audience by making all their meme references. Well, good seeing you, dude. If I'm still awake in a little bit, I'll come back on. Oh, hey, what's up, fat man? When did you come in? Good to see you. What's new over there? You still working a security job, or were you working as, I forget, were you working security or as a janitor? I suppose in some cases those two could kind of overlap. Ah. Clean up aisle 7. I remember doing that as a teenager. If we found out one of our friends that just got a job at the grocery store, one of the things the new guy had to do was they were the mandatory cleanup person on their shift, right? So, if one of our friends had just got a job at the grocery store, a few days after, like, on their 3rd or 4th day of work, we'd go in there and do something subtle like buy a soda and oops, accidentally spill some of it. Apologize to the manager while our friends scowling at us and but trying to be professional and keep their job. And then when we went back to school Monday, be like, do that on purpose, man. No, it wasn't me. Yeah, well, that's just dick